What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to say a couple of things about NIO and the market and break down why on earth my view has not changed about what I think the market's going to do. Before I break anything down all this information, though, let me just say a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends in just 4 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with NIO. So NIO is down 2.49% for the day on Friday, and the daily candle looks quite bearish. It looks like we could see more downside. Now, as long as NIO does not give us some horrendous news, I believe that this thing should bottom very, very soon. And I believe that there's going to be a big rally coming to the stock market. You heard that right. Now, I know a lot of people out there are thinking that there's no way there's going to be a rally, the stock market's going to crash, and this and that. But that's exactly what these market makers want you to suspect. That's exactly what they want you to think. And I still believe in the month of November, there's going to be a very, very monstrous bounce coming, and it's going to catch millions of people off guard. So, why do I say that? I have a couple of reasons. The first one would be there is a possibility that the Fed could try to pause very soon on the rate hikes because the latest inflationary numbers have come in as expected. That is, going to incentivize them to pause in November. And if that were to happen, the market would run very hard. Secondly, when it comes to earnings, as long as earnings are not that horrendous, we have Apple's earnings next week. This could contribute to some extent, but that could be very, very different. I also wanted to add that if you look at the market, we're very fearful right now. Everyone is expecting some kind of crash, and we're continuing to see shorts piling into the markets. And that's exactly why the market makers would be incentivized to cause something very different. Look at the McCullen Volume Summation Index, and you will see in October of 2022 this bottomed, and then this thing started to push up. When this thing bottoms to these low levels of extreme fear, that is when the market tends to bottom. The same thing happened around the March period before this thing started uptrending. And you will notice that if you look at SPY, for example, uh, during that March period, we tended to see the market also bottom. So, like right here, this is when the market bottomed, and the market started this very nice bull run for a couple of months going into August. So, that's going back right here. That is one of the reasons. And then now it's reaching those levels again. So, this is suggesting that there should be a big bounce coming. This called every bounce for many, many, many years. And in this point, we're seeing it likely about to do it again as we're seeing this approaching those same levels. So this could be predicting another bounce coming very soon. To add on to this, I just want to add that everyone is extremely fearful. Sentiment is expecting a crash. That's what tends to not happen when everyone is expecting it. And then if you look at the midterm election year, so this is not just for midterm years, this works for any election. This suggests that at the very end of October, during the final week, we tend to see the market bottom, and then we tend to start a very, very nice run for November. So we're approaching this in terms of seasonality during election years or midterm election years. It's basically the same regardless of that. And so far, this has been playing out very nicely. So there's likely going to be a bottom forming for the markets very soon. And I believe that the market's going to bounce like crazy, and no one is going to expect it, or at least very few people will be expecting it. Uh, so I think that this is going to help NIO bounce. I think this is going to help the whole market bounce. Also, from a technical standpoint, we have a bullish divergence developing on SPY. I think that this is going to eventually lead to some very, very nice buyers stepping in the future. We could sell off a little bit more. We could sell off to 405, maybe even 400. We have a gap down here, which could get filled at 404. So I'm going to be watching that gap on the daily very carefully. We might come down to fill this gap at 404 very soon before more buyers try to step in. There's another gap down at 391. I really doubt we're going to drop that low, but I think 404 to 405 is a possibility. And this gap all the way down there could get filled before the market bounces. And then if the gap fills, I think that the bullish divergence could play out because we have this 5-wave selling cycle that's been going on, right? Excuse me. From a Elliott wave perspective, this is like wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and this is like wave 5. So for the final wave, and with that being said, I think the market will likely find its bottom I think there's more downside coming soon looking at the daily, but the market is going to bottom soon as everyone's expecting some kind of crash. And this is going to launch stocks like nobody has even expecting. So I think it's going to start around November. And I think one catalyst for it that could help trigger this may be the FOMC meeting if the Fed announces like that they're going to pause or something. And then for Tesla stock, I could see a little bit more downside, still looks more bearish on the daily, but somewhere around that 200 area, maybe a little bit lower, depending on if we hold to 200 or not. I believe it's also going to bottom soon before this thing ends up bouncing. I think Apple's going to do the same thing, but it's going to depend on earnings and other factors. But we do technically have a bullish divergence on Apple developing. So if this plays out, we could see a nice bounce. We could see Apple try to help the market improve its position. The QQQ is looking a bit more bearish. We could sell off a bit more, but we also happen to have a bullish divergence developing on the MACD, and we're still technically above the 200 EMA. So I think it could still break below it, but I think buyers will try to defend it very soon. So what does this all mean for NIO? As long as NIO's deliveries are not horrendous, as long as they do decent coming out for November 1st, I believe that NIO is going to bottom around $7. I think we're going to hit $7 flat. So we have a little bit more downside coming. And then I think that over the next couple of trading days, we're going to see the buyers step in and start pushing NIO right back up. NIO has these gaps to fill. We have this gap up here at $10.32. We have another gap up here around this $11.57 area, not to mention $14. I think NIO is going to start filling those gaps and start pushing up very nicely. One of the other reasons as to why I think that there's going to be a November to December rally is because we have a bullish divergence developing on the charts. The more we drop, the more NIO tries to bounce. And on the weekly, NIO looks like it's going to head for $7 in balance. We have a very, very strong support there, at least historically. And I think that this is going to help the share price up as time goes on. So watch for $7 and watch for some buyers to step in around there. I believe there's going to be more downside coming for NIO for the short term, but then for November/December, I'm anticipating a very, very nice bull run, which is something that's going to catch millions of people off guard. The shorting in the market has gone to some crazy levels again because people keep expecting a crash. Right? If you look at the put and call options right now, we're at this fear mode where we're seeing more and more puts being bought, and we're starting to see millions of put positions being bought on SPY. People are shorting the markets. People are continuing to jump in. But that's why you need to be very, very careful, because if everyone is going to be following the crowd, then nobody is going to succeed. So following the crowd is not always the way to go. The crowd is saying there's going to be a crash. I say there's going to likely be a bounce coming. And I think that this could help NIO. So long as deliveries are decent, I think NIO is going to bounce very nicely back to the tens. It may take a couple, many weeks to get there, but I believe it's going to happen as soon as November starts, so long as their earnings are not just their earnings, but their earnings and deliveries are not the worst. Okay, so I anticipate some upside. I'm still very confident that the market is going to bottom soon. I believe there's going to be a bull run coming when people least expect it. All right, so thank you for listening. Have a good day, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one, and peace out.